Hey, Sherry.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. I always see the record button. Why am I having a hard time here?
It says
Mm,
it's recording.
I want to stop recording. We haven't started yet.
right.
It also says that I'm not signed in, but it says my name, right?
Yeah, I see you. You're on. Hey, Celeste. First though, Amani, I'm gonna share host rights.
Thank you. And then I can help with the recording as well.
I have an alarm for everything, so I know where I'm supposed to be. Here we go. Okay, tell me if that worked. You are a co-host. And if you're able to pull up, then
Yep,
the
it worked.
okay for sh screen sharing and all that good stuff. Although you're, oh,
Tell
I
me.
see what you did. Nothing. I see what you did.
And Sherry, I'd be okay to screen share on my end when it's my turn.
Let's see.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so we want to make Susanna co-host as well.
Okay.
Morning, Karen.
Hi, good morning. I'll be right back. I'm going to get more coffee.
I was just
Oh,
going to say, it sounds
yes.
like Amani has had hers. We need that energy.
Okay, let me do this.
Uh, there was an attachment of a spreadsheet as well that
Yes, ma'am.
but everyone, does have access to it, and it's probably not very, it's unwieldy to share on screen, but
Ah, thank
we
you.
may need to share it on screen. I just, while reviewing, it has filters.
Gotcha.
It,
Thank you.
but thank you. And they're also, so we don't have onboard anymore. And so uh,
Hmm.
this is just a PDF file with links within the document. Uh, Wherever you see those
Pepperoni.
squares, you got it. Yeah, and Monty's like, I know this stuff.
No, not
She's more,
even.
you are much more advanced in the tech than I am. I've reached a point in my life where it's like, what has happened? I don't know how to do an Instagram post. I mean, that's
Stop the madness. Okay, that's all set. And I have our members up and everything. So we're good, Sherry. We got it.
thank you. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning. How are you?
We are here. We are ready.
Yes, yes, we are.
Oh, this,
And it's Friday.
and it's Friday.
Ooh.
Yes. I have always, whenever people would say, Yay, Friday, I'm like, that is very sad. You should look forward to work on.
Do
I
you still think
thank
it's
goodness
very
it's
sad?
Friday. It shows that there's work that needs to be done, but uh,
Yeah.
I I'm there. Oh,
I thought it was Friday like on Tuesday. That was so every day I was like, oh God, it's not Friday yet. It
it's
was
been
the
a weird
longest
week.
short. It has been a weird week.
Okay, yeah. I sometimes I think we have that collective experience just with the way the world is right now.
Mhm. I agree.
Mm.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm gonna get up and shut my shades behind me.
And good
Good
morning, everyone.
morning. don't see Kevin or Arrow. Am I missing?
I'll reach out to Kevin real quick, Sherry.
I'll text Arrow as well. Thank you. Oh, there you are, Errol. I'm sorry. Disregard my message.
This is the third meeting of the day already. It's been back to back.
I am sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
Sometimes it can be good, right?
The bang on Friday.
While we're waiting on to hear back if Kevin is able to join, wanted to say last night, Directions for Living held their Little Lights event. I almost wore my glow, but I don't know what that would do to the rest of the to how my camera would respond to that. But it was really good. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it's also Fair Housing Month. So 58 years ago, the Fair Housing Act was passed.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for being there. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful event.
It's
Lots of people on this call were there. Thank you to
Mhm.
everybody on this call that was there. Thank you.
Always during the program, well, last year and this year, it is very difficult to, there's always a choke that starts to happen and to hear the stories.
Yeah. I have not heard from Kevin, but for the sake of time, maybe we just get started.
I think so. Who would like to
Yeah.
start out with welcome? One of the officers, are you willing to take that on? We can do roll call attendance.
Yes, let's do that.
Amani?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I'll go ahead and start with our Providers Council. So first things, of course, we know that Kevin's not on yet, so I'll go ahead and move to April.
Here.
I have Steve, Andy, Lariana, Erica,
Here.
thank you, Lieutenant Haish, See ya. Michael,
Here.
Christine, Ashley, Dolores, Mickey,
I'm
or
here on
Sasha?
behalf of Mickey. Yes.
Good morning, Sasha. Judith,
Good morning. I'm here.
morning. Thank you. All right. Okay, so I have 6 for Providers Council. So almost at quorum. I'm happy to move on to funders now.
Hi, excuse me. This is
Oh,
Christine Long.
You're
I
here.
just
You made
logged in.
quorum.
I
Thank
made
you.
it. Okay.
yay. Thank you, Christine. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, providers, we are now at 7 for quorum. I'm going to jump over to funders. Chair Kathleen.
Good morning.
It's now Sandra.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Sandra.
Apologies.
I'm just attending. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, totally talking
Oh,
about
good. Good.
COC chair. My apologies. Oh
And
man, good morning again. Need some coffee. Arrow.
Here.
Thank you, Arrow. Janine.
Here.
Thank you. Celeste.
yes, present. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning. Blossom.
Yvonne here for Blossom Morales.
Thank you, Yvonne. Elise. Is it, I always pronounce this incorrectly, so I apologize. Is it Danya or Dania?
Yes, you got it. Dania Perez. I'm here.
Thank you, Danya. I have Joe.
Here.
Thank you. Julie. Elizabeth.
Here.
Thank you. Anne Marie. And then last but certainly not least, Karen.
Hi, good morning. I'm here.
Thank you, everyone. And we do have quorum for funders.
We are good. Okay. Well, we do have a new funders chair who was appointed. Sandra Newsom has accepted that appointment, and we definitely welcome her. This has been a role that's been open for quite some time, and I know Kathleen has been taking it on as chair of the COC, and is very happy to have someone who can now fill this position. So, anyone want to share any words on that?
I just want to extend a sincere thank you to Sandra for stepping up and serving as chair of the funders committee. We've been without a chair for years, ever since Doug and Cooley stepped away. And Sandra's doing a phenomenal job so far. We've had a number of communications. She's automatically part of the executive committee, so that's been helpful. And she's a great asset to the entire COC as well as funders. So thank you, Sandra, for stepping up. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate your kind words. It's a nice way to start your Friday. Thank you.
And I see that Kevin is online now, so I will hand it on over.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? You can?
Yes.
Good. Sorry, I was having some difficulties this morning. But I finally got it connected. Sorry for the delay. It's 9:01, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everyone to the Joint Funders Providers Council. I'm Kevin Marone, Provider Council Chair. So we'll get the meeting started with our roll call attendance.
And we do have quorum.
Great.
Sherry, this is April. Does the Funders Council need to ratify the decision, or no action needs to be taken? We just need to welcome Sandra with open arms, or does Funders Council need to do something?
As far as the governance charter is concerned, it's up to Kathleen to chair after so many consecutive.
Got it. Okay. Welcome, Sandra. We're so glad that you're here.
May I add also, though, that there will be an in-person funders meeting, and just to give everyone a heads up, this will be going out today. It will be May 15th at 2:30 to 4:30. We're going to find a location. Make sure that we have the location secured and send that out. But put that on your calendars, and that will be a time to discuss this more and get to know Sandra better, and also for her to get to know the council.
Okay, are we ready for the roll call?
We completed roll call, and
Oh, we did. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Both councils are have quorum.
Okay, sorry. All right. Next up is the consent agenda, which has been attached. We have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Consent agenda moved. Right. On to the charter alignment work group. April Lott.
Thank you, Kevin. So we have been reviewing the charters for both the Funders Council and the Providers Council, and have noted that there are some inconsistencies. As many of you probably remember and know, that the councils are responsible for developing their own charters, and that's worked very well over the years. However, with our commitment over the past couple of years of working so closely together, we really think it's time to try to align the charters. So what we would like to do is convene a small group of volunteers between each of the councils. And so I'm looking for 2 to 3 volunteers from Funders Council, 2 to 3 volunteers from Providers Council, so that we can knock it out, hopefully in one meeting, where we align the charters.
April, I'll volunteer for that. This is Amy.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
I will too. This is Karen.
Okay, Karen, Amy, anyone else from Funders?
I'm happy to help. This is Judith.
Okay, Judith, are you Funders or Providers?
Oh, okay.
Providers?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. I just want to record you. That would be lovely. Okay, anybody else from Funders?
Well, you can sign me up for that. It'd be a great learning experience for me.
Okay, good, perfect. All right, and so we have one from Providers, which is Judith. Anybody else on Providers?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, Kevin. Anyone else? I'll do it if necessary. Okay, so we will then communicate with this select group of funders and providers and get a doodle poll or something out to get us convened, and then we will report back to this group once that's done. That's it, Kevin, for me.
That sounds great. Thank you, April, for leading that. All right. Next on the agenda, we have our local funding inventory. Arrow.
Unmute. Thank you all for putting the information together. I was going to share a screen real quickly and just getting feedback or thoughts on how we've allocated throughout the system on the dollar amounts. There's a huge amount in others, so that might be something we need to look at, figuring out how to further divvy up. I just sent a request if I can share. Let's see.
Just made you co-host. Hopefully that works.
Mm. Okay, so I took, this is the big spreadsheet you all got in your email. I took that and the pivot table off of the program type and the funding amount. And so I just wanted to kind of go over this a little bit. Looks like about 160,000 we have in the system right now for diversion. Some of this may be spent, so this is just on that budgeted column. Almost 3.8 million for shelter, 1.1 million for eviction prevention. We've got a large amount for the healthcare medical services. I'm guessing a lot of that's the like healthcare for homeless programs. This other one, though, I think we'd probably have to dig deeper in. That's a huge amount that fell into that category, and maybe see if we can figure out dig a little bit deeper on that. But here's the breakdown of the other for PSH, RRH, safe havens, street outreach. Is there anything that sticks out to anyone? Overall, this is showing $72.4 million that we have in our system right now. Any like imbalance you see? Anything that you think jumps out at you?
I think, Arrow, until we really understand what all's in the other. And thanks for doing the work on this. I think this is really the most important work we can do as a group, especially considering all the threats that are coming. But I think until we understand what all is falling in the other, it's hard to see where we may have gaps.
Let me see if I can just do this real quick. So it looks like there's some like if program type is other, please describe. So some has prevention, but I think that is an actual category, eviction prevention, if that's what it is. So it may be just going through and needing to check those classifications again. Okay, so there's a bunch of capital renovations in here. So we may want to make sure we're breaking out. Maybe we do other service of other or as capital improvements as a separate item, because that isn't ongoing operating services. I'm sure those are probably bigger. It looks like there's a bunch of capital improvements. There's a $400,000 one, $35 million one, and that is single family housing with VR money. So that's probably a one-time funding source, and it's for construction. So those look like the biggest. So that might be. Do you all agree that we should add a capital improvements line item, or we could have
I kind of wonder. I do think capital improvements make sense, Arrow. I wonder if we should create a disaster category too, because that I think that at a quick snapshot we'll know that is most likely one-time funding that's going to leave our system. Because if somebody were to look at this otherwise, they'd be like $72 million and we're not making a difference, right? But a lot of that is one-time funding that isn't going to be recurring.
We do have this one-time or recurring category here. It looks like it might not have been filled out for all of them. So that could be something it looks like we can sort on. That's the beauty of having these tabs up here now too, with some of these that are, kind of similar, or with the drop down, because we can do the pivot tables and sort. So probably just need to fill in the rest of the reoccurring or one time, and then we can see how much of our funding is.
And some of these, I was going to say, so, where is it? Funded activity. There we go. Funded activity. We have capital improvements and renovation that, I don't know where the new construction and expansion. Okay, so that needs to be added. New construction and expansion.
So I think in this program,
it's in there.
Is where we need to break that out. So, well, if it's
that's for
yeah,
that's separate.
So, and maybe the aspect actually is if we've got capital improvements here, maybe in here we put it like this is housing, right? Like single family housing. Maybe we need to do housing creation. These all look like they're housing. So maybe it's in the program type if we already have it as funding type.
Arrow, so sorry to interrupt. We had a comment in the chat. Would you mind making the document full screen? Thank you.
Better. I think there is typically a little plus sign on the screen too if someone wants to zoom in. There, yeah, this was I came out in the attachments too, so I know it's hard to see the numbers sometimes on a shared screen. So, but if we do have the capital improvements as a category for funded activity, maybe over here, this really needs to be more at a category for housing as far as program type. And then we also already state whether or not this was one-time money, which we need to fill those in. So maybe I don't mind taking a look at the program types and see if I can come up with some other ones that might make more sense to kind of further break this down. It looks like some of these are like grouped together in multiple things, so that might be the reason why other was chosen. So I'm happy to work with HLA and see if we can whittle down the others a little bit more. How about the other categories? So assuming that this other has a lot of housing in it and one-time DR money, are there any other things that stick out to you as far as, we know diversion is usually the cheapest solution, so that makes sense that that one would be a lower amount. But are there any other ways you want this? So it sounds like Amy was also suggesting maybe we look at this data on what is one time and recurring, right? Which I can run that.
Oh yeah, I believe that's in.
We can use it. We just need that
Column
data.
L.
Yeah, we just need the data filled in.
We need it put in, yeah.
Yeah. So we may have to send this back out just to get, if you have projects on here, if there's any gaps in these rows. That we can, or in these columns that we can get them filled in, work on doing those analysis type thing. Are there any other ways you'd want to see the data? Population served, like how much money for population type. Yeah.
Are we getting any feedback in chat? Is that
I think population type, if that's available, would be really helpful. And also maybe it's already here, but of these dollars, how many are going directly to individuals served?
Like direct assistance?
Direct assistance. I'm just trying in my mind separate things that fund the operations of a program versus those that provide direct services or supports to individuals.
17279104185. Hello, make sure if you're not speaking, you're on mute, please.
Carol, I have a clarifying question, just regarding capital improvements. Is that typical? These are all, every fund on this chart is directed towards people coming out of homelessness. Yes.
Some of them it's preventing homelessness, and then for our folks that put some of the housing on like the CRA money, is this related specifically to homelessness or just helping to increase that housing?
So it's not specific to homelessness, so we could take another look at that. But we consider this preventing people from because their homes are in such disrepair, they would have to leave their homes. And so, but I think we can make that a little bit clearer when we walk through the chart again.
Okay.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking, that it was aligned with keeping people, like, especially with the influx of elderly becoming homeless, and
Yeah.
often it's because they can't keep their house up.
Yeah, that is exactly what that program does,
Okay.
Sandra. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments, feedback? I guess the other thing.
Ariel, I think we have one thing on one time that we need to fix too. So I think Helen interpreted one time as all of our funding says one time here. It's one time because it's competitively procured. And so it's not going to continue to roll over. But the funding source isn't a one-time funding source. And
Gotcha.
so I think we can clean that up in the chart as well.
Okay.
Now, obviously, every year council can make a decision whether they keep that money in the budget or not. But I think we can clean that up as well.
Okay, so we'll clarify that. And one time, so one time would be if it's like we know it's not recurring, we'll use that as the assumption. Like our DR money is one of them.
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah, and I can send this over to our DR group. I think kind of in the same vein that St. Pete used the DR as a preventative category, the county can also infuse the DR funds that are in similar buckets in this spreadsheet as well.
So that'll be like a one-time infusion of prevention, almost, so to speak, for capital improvements.
I need to look at the chart closer, Arrow. I think we sent this in before we got notice from HUD. We now qualify for HOPWA again. And so if we don't have HOPWA in here, we need to add it in. So we'll look at that in the chart as well. So we just received an allocation of 1.7 million for that.
And is that St. Pete did or Pinellas County?
St. Pete did.
Wow. Okay. Because I thought Tampa was like for the whole region before, right? Or for both counties together?
Yeah. We lost that a couple of years ago. But, it's based on a formula with the HIV rates. And now our rates are high enough that we will start receiving it again.
Is that in addition to Tampa, Amy, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Or do you want to see that?
Karen, I would mention, or Joe, they kind of asked us if we wanted it or not. So like you could say we can't program it and not get it, but based on the Florida Health Charts data I'm looking at, the entire county would be eligible for the funding using their formula. So that may be another source that if you have a way to program it, the county could receive as well.
I could follow up with you, Amy, offline. Thank you. I don't know if it falls in my bucket or Joe's bucket, but we can circle with you to get more information.
I think definitely discerning, especially like if we're talking to elected officials and things like that, we definitely need to break down, like we've talked about here, what is just one time because it's disaster, how much are we investing on an ongoing basis in the system. I think another part that elected officials may want to know is like how much does that relate to, I don't know if they would or not, but some of these categories, like how much per person are we spending? I don't know if that's something they kind of want to know, like are some of these programs serving thousands and thousands, or is it, 200 people a year for that cost? I don't know how to do that other than maybe at the system level if it shows for each of the interventions how many clients were served each year. I don't know how the conviction prevention gets in there.
I mean, in past RFAs, we have broken that down to compare programmatically. You wouldn't compare PSH and emergency shelter, for example, right? But you would look at the per client cost in each intervention type and considering some of the questions that I see from citizens coming into elected officials and having listened to some of the county commission conversations, I do think those are things we need to be prepared with so that internally we're having that conversation and understanding the per client cost and the outcomes of it.
I know, like with the PSH funding, like there was some good information that came out about, the cost of like a hospital, jail, and PSH. I know the sheriff's office uses that comparison too, State Harbor versus jail costs and things like that. So, speaking even like our rapid rehousing level, I mean, I'm sure that's decreased significantly since COVID, because there was so much COVID money into that intervention. All right. Anything else? Last words on this? Otherwise, we can. I guess from HLA, I don't know if you guys can resend it out for people just to look now that it's all together holistically, and we have this conversation, see if they can fill in any gaps. But before you guys send it out, maybe we'll take that other category and I can work with you on coming up with a better way to break that other down so that we can recategorize things.
That sounds good. And we can have it out to everyone and then bring it back in time for the next Funders Council meeting next month.
All right, that covers everything, right? Thank you, Ara, for leading that, all your work on that. I mean, I think this is something that we've talked about as a group for a long time. So it's exciting to have this information and to be working together to better understand it. So I think it's going to really set us up for better decisions in the future. All right, moving on the agenda, we have our strategic planning and funding landscape. Sherry?
Okay, strategic planning. We have contracted with Stephen Ferrante, and so in his group, and they are three-pronged process here for one for each month, so we can have a final plan by the end of June. And he's worked with the Area Agency on Aging. I know Sanders worked with him before as well. And so right now he's doing a secondary data analysis. We're supplying a lot of information to him. There's going to be a kickoff work group meeting, and the work group members was already a call for volunteers, and those folks were already approved to move forward. They'll be meeting in April in a virtual meeting, and then we are in April. And then in May, there's going to be an in-person meeting for a few hours, then finally action planning in June for about 4 hours in person. In addition to that, though, there will be focus group interviews, individual interviews, and surveys that will be going out to to different folks within the COC to make sure that all those voices are brought in, get very good broad input, and then he will put together the final plan for us to review and have approved by the board. So the goal is by the end of June to have a COC plan that's ready to go for the next 2 years. Any questions about that? Okay, I see none. So the next piece is on the NOFO. So FY25 renewals, I'm not going to go through the whole saga of the fall and winter that's happened, except that to say that HLA did submit for all renewals to be renewed for FY25 because the FY24-25 NOFO was re-released at the very end. It is still under litigation, but went through all the steps there. We know that awards were announced for any project that expired in Q1, which included three Boley projects. However, no contracts have been sent out, and I haven't heard of a single COC in the country that this is a constant question that comes up, just trying to find out if anyone has received a contract. That has not happened. We know that HUD went to the district courts and asked for the preliminary injunction to be lifted so that the projects that are expiring in the second half of the year, Q3 and 4, which are primarily CASA and HLA funds or projects, that those can go. HUD wanted to put out a release of NOFO for those projects just for half the year. That was rejected, and HUD's appealing right now. But while HUD is doing that, we are preparing for the FY26, which general consensus is probably going to look like the second NOFO that came out for public review, but we will not know everything for certain until that is dropped. We just know basically what the HUD priorities are and where funding is going, that Tier 1, according to Congress and what was signed into law, has to be at a minimum 60%. If you remember, it was 30% over the winter. So in the last few releases, or the first release, sorry. So that is anywhere from 60% and up will be Tier 1. We can anticipate that, and we expect it within June. I expect it by June 1st. The HUD TA suggests that it may be July or August. So we have contracted with the consultant, and we have a review and rank committee, at least named, people who had signed up to do that and were approved by the executive committee. And now we'll be receiving, we'll be scheduling a meeting very soon to have training started and more discussions with review and rank. Any questions about NOFO? Arrow?
I saw part of the court ruling the other day also throughout the elimination of housing first. I don't know if that is expected to.
Tell me, was it being protected or
it was
to eliminate?
protecting housing first, yes.
Okay.
So I know we all have a lot of contracts related to that as well, or have had. But.
Yeah, and a lot of COCs have been moving towards not using the language, using the language, or going more towards housing focused. As another way to move forward. But I'm going to look into that. Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up at Funders Council, but do we have any type of consensus on what we as a COC are recommending to forward into contracts? I talked to St. Pete. I believe there was housing focused language, as you mentioned, but I don't know that we as a group or the COC has come up with kind of what our language should be or could be. Versus each funder kind of making up their own or infusing their own. I think that's, not really helpful.
I know, I agree. I know that it was discussed during the last joint committee meeting or council's meeting, and there was a lot of debate around that. We did land on housing focus being where we were, there was more consensus, there was more energy. And it was also in reaction to what we knew was coming down in the NOFO. So, and with the administration's priorities. So that does require more discussion for sure.
April has her hand up.
Yeah,
April.
I do. I agree, right, that we should come up with language. I guess the The challenge is going to be, are we going to come up with something that then ultimately becomes an even bigger issue down the line? But I do think housing focused is pretty safe language. The reason I raised my hand, though, is I think I just wanted to ask the question about, I know that the county stepped in to use some funding that they had available to ensure that Kevin, in particular, because of his contracts perhaps not being renewed, stepped in to make sure that services could continue. Is that where we are now?
Yes, I was gonna speak on that. I wanted to, thank, Karen, the county and Juvenile Welfare Board as well, because, the concern is that, Boley, I wouldn't have the cash flow to continue all of the permanent supportive housing for individuals and families until who knows, it could be July, August before I actually have a contract. So, I know we are grateful for that backup. We have already we're using that funding. When our contracts come in, then we would reimburse all of it once our HUD funding has come in. So it has been a great fail-safe in this situation. So I think it's another example of how through this group and working together, we're able to, solve some of those, immediate problems. So that's where that's at yet. Obviously, I'm still waiting. We check every day for that to come in, so that we can try to get back to normal.
Good. Okay. Well, I just think it's
I
important.
think as far as language too, it's very clear that things are moving more into the treatment-oriented language. So I think that we need to look at that as well. I know at Boley, we've already been, talking to our staff and looking at our policies and procedures and shifting some of the language and the ways that we communicate and talk with residents. While still being, trauma informed and compassionate and caring, because I think that is, critical as well. Sandra, you had your hand up as well. I don't know if you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So I had two things. One is I added it to the agenda for our Funders Council meeting because I do think it's an important discussion, specifically because so much of these funding resources overlap, and it gets challenging as a provider when you have some rules on others and not on all of them collectively. I think similar to Boley, we had at Carrefour, we had to go back and kind of scrub our language that was in some of our policies and procedures, but we changed from overall to instead of anything to do with housing first, but reduce barriers to housing, just as a tagline. It helped make us feel like we were still being authentic to our philosophy and mission, but at the same time, not promoting that housing first has taken on a whole other world of what it means. So we made that switch, and that just because it seemed to be aligned with us, but also not adversarial in our funding requests. But I do think it's an important thing for us to come up with one that is universal for Pinellas County, for this COC, and for the attached funders who are supporting or filling in gaps to the HUD funding.
Yeah, it was always intended to be just simply the front door part, and it evolved into something more than what it was ever originally intended to. That you could do what there were no rules, no requirements, no expectations ongoing. So I think that's a valid point.
Right. They're using it as a program model versus what it is, which is a philosophy of service, not an actual model of service.
Yeah. Kathleen?
Yeah, thanks. I agree with what Karen and Sandra all have said. I think the housing focused is good language. I don't know if you all want to make a recommendation to like the executive committee, but I think it falls in nicely with our analysis and an alignment of the council committee and guiding charter for the COC. So, you know, it aligns with our mission and vision language as well. So, you know, housing focused is what we are. So I would hope you know, I know April raised some concerns and I agree they're there. But I think with what we're doing right now with our strategic planning and our charter alignments, this makes you know, perfect sense that we can justify this language consistency of housing focused. But it's just my opinion.
Sorry. I feel like this is probably going to come up in C, but I do want to flag here because I feel like it's related to coming up with consistent language that the bigger deal, I mean, you know, not to minimize the HUD deal because it's huge. But we are also in the process of meeting with legal and reviewing every contract. I mean, so much documentation around the DEI bill that passed and how language needs to change around that. And, you know, also who we can fund and not fund and use SBEs and other things. So, MBs. So I'm worried that that has real implications. There are some exceptions in that where you can serve some single sex programming and homeless services. But I don't think we've identified all of those things yet and may need to explore that, not in this meeting, but in a future meeting. And there's likely to be language changes there as well.
So you want to do it like all at once with looking at the nuances of different types of language and programs, or you know, is there consensus with the funders and providers here today that you think a housing focused is a good way to
I thought we previously voted on the housing focused language in a past meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, then
Back
good.
in October, I believe. Yeah, I
All right, good. So do you want to communicate that out to all of our kind of providers and reiterate it, or no need to? Okay.
Well, if we voted on it, then I
don't know if
missed
it
it
was-
because I
I don't know if
thought
it
it was
was a
like there was energy around it. We
Right,
talked about it, and
consensus.
then we were going to come back, and we never came back because of all the changes. So, I mean, if we want to vote, great. I mean, I do think we need some kind of consensus, or maybe take it back to funders to start so that we have alignment. But I don't think we voted because I went back through to make sure I didn't miss anything, and we talked about it.
So that's probably right, Carrie. And one of the things that I know we're looking at, our resolution has to change. So this may be an approach. So back when we moved to the housing first focus, every municipality in the community passed that resolution that was drafted by the COC to say, here's our beliefs, our, you know, all those things. Now we all need to change our language again, I think. And so Karen's probably right. We might need a more formal, I know it got flagged by legal for us the other day that our resolution has to change.
Okay.
Yeah, ours has gotten brought up a few times in various settings. And you know, what we have said back to the commission is that we are kind of working and waiting for HUD's final guidance. I'm assuming the COC will vote on it, but it's just proven a little bit challenging. As you know, we have some active procurements going on right now. So we've kind of infused what we thought was a safe way to, you know, categorize what we're doing, but we don't really have any finality from the COC on where we stand. And I'm sure it's going to come up when we bring the contracts forward for any recommendations for the programs that are under procurement.
Well, do you think it's a safe time for the COC to come forward and say, we're going, you know, we recommend alignment with housing focused and do that now, or do we need to wait for some other HUD, guidance or?
Arrow has her hand up.
Have we defined housing focus? I mean, I assume it means basically our main mission is to get people back in the bottom line, but so I think that may just come up as like, making sure that if we're using that it is defined.
Kathleen, what I'm hearing is that this might need some discussion because there seems to be it's not clear whether it was voted on or it was just flagged as an issue, but also in alignment with what Amy said. It's not just about HUD language. The state has made some substantial changes and impact, and I think maybe this could be brought to our discussion on May 15th at the Funders Council and then bring back before.
Okay.
That's just my observation and my thought.
No real urgency to get it before the COC board in early May. Not a push for that.
I think what I have spent some time thinking about this, the use of language. It's not the word that matters as much as your policies and procedures. And so I think whether you call it housing first, housing focused, or reduce barriers to housing, or you ignore it altogether, it really comes down to how you implement your program. And are you providing opportunities for everyone to come into housing or to your services? And we've attached a lot of energy onto these two words that really, I think anyone who's been in this field for a long time, like most people on this call, like whether you called it housing first or not, 10, 15 years ago, you were still doing it. You just didn't have a name to it. So it does take up a lot of energy and space and discussion because it's a substantial part of applications across the state, federal, and local funding. But I think it's just something it sounds like we all have to be in agreement because of the layering that happens. And I think that would be helpful to have a full-on discussion and just spend not a long time on it, but just really get people from all the different funders what that means for them.
Arrow?
So housing first, from my recollection too, was really a big push to reduce a lot of the barriers that were in the system, like drug screening, backgrounds, all this stuff to get anything, which federally it sounds like they're trying to put all that stuff back in place. So I think that may be the difference in funding, federal funding wise, between a housing first and a housing focused, where the housing focused is really just zooming in on getting people housed. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding this too. That housing first was really stating upfront and clearly, we are reducing barriers. We're not going to make people get sober before they get access to this, that, and the other. But that the housing focused approach is a little step back from that, but it's really just saying we're still going to work on getting people housed as our main mission. Is that what I'm understanding the difference is? Or is that, I mean, in terms of federal funding, like I know what we're doing in practice may be different.
I think that deserves more clarity. I mean, and also here, my 2 cents, it's another 2-word thing that gets into the streams and then becomes co-opted as well and turns into something else that it's not. It's very easy to attach certain symbols to words. And so it's very easy to, it's almost giving like a 2-word phrase to just, okay, let's attack this now too. Something to consider, but.
I think to Sandra's point, it is about like your operating practices and policies, procedures. I think the focus is also going to be on duration and time, and that there's going to be time limits for these types of things. That it's not just on that is more the focus than which is that they don't just get these things forever, and that's where I see it going. But I don't know that we have clear enough, specific enough guidance to make decisions on all of it right now. I think we have an idea of where it's going. We could probably start with some high level things, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have to sit down a few more times as things get released to give more specific criteria. Do you have something else, Arrow? Or is that your previous hand? Okay. All
Well,
right. Anything else on that?
Well, moving into the legislative updates, there are a few things that are going on. There's always something going on right now. We didn't have anything listed because of how quickly things move. And of course, I know Arrow has been keeping a pulse on a lot of things as well, Karen. And so anyone who has more to add to this list, let me know. I'm going to be sending out an update to the COC right after this because there's some areas that can receive some public comment. So we have HUD policy changes that are affecting assisted housing assistance and restrictions on mixed status households. So that has to do with immigration. So if any of you have been watching the news or keeping up at all, that's a big area. So it require all members of households receiving HUD assistance to verify citizenship. This also goes into the SAVE system discussion that has been had with all the COCs within this group, within funders and providers. It was in a NOFO, the first NOFO. There was one area that did require us to our attesting that every provider within the COC would have to use the SAVE system. However, there is no way for us to access the SAVE system. And so to verify immigration. And so that's been a big issue. Joe?
Wanted to bring to the attention, if we haven't already seen it, the president released his budget a week or so ago. Three things there that concern the county. Number one, the elimination of CDBG, an annual thing for us. Having been on the Hill with our NACED folks, I don't worry as much about CDBG as I do the home program. Home program is up for elimination again. There is some discussion that the home program is coming back in vogue again because we're talking of affordable housing. So I don't anticipate that going away. I think the one for this group is the third part there, the elimination of COCs.
Mm-hmm.
Doing away with COCs and providing that money through an emergency solution grant. I think as we talk about funding, we need to have that on our back burner because again, that will drastically change the way we do things here. So as we're doing this strategic planning, as we're thinking out loud of funding ideas and whatnot, we need to have this the back end of our mind and be paying attention to what's going on at the Hill to be able to advocate that our COCs stay around.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, that would be a drastic change for Pinellas County if we lose our COC of how we're going to do that funding. So I bring that up. The other piece of the budget is $30 million for HUD to enforce fair housing. Was something specifically that they brought out that they will be looking for and enforcing the fair housing laws that are on the books, but providing additional funding to HUD to be able to do that. So we will continue to keep an eye on that at the national level, but we need to be thinking about that as well if we have to change the way we do things.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, that is something. So the administration's budget did all of that, and then this is very similar to what happened last summer with the budget. The same proposal was made from the administration. There were some events that happened over that summer that I not going to go into, but ultimately did not fall through. I did not work out with Congress. And so we got another year, but still a definite concern. Kathleen?
I got invited to, there's a presentation at St. Pete College next Thursday, I believe, at at 6 o'clock on fair housing enforcement and policy. So I'm going to go to that. I forget who's, Dr. Joseph Smiley sent me the information and invitation. But, maybe they'll discuss what Joe was concerned about with that. So just thought I'd let people know. I can share that information with you, Sherry, if you want to share it out
Thank
with
you,
me.
because I don't think that's come my way yet. Thanks. We also have so there are comments on the restrictions on mixed status households around immigration and families with different status. I'm going to send out this information right after we get off this call with ways to go and make comment. There's a rule change around eviction notice requirements for non-payment of rent. It will roll back the 30-day notice requirement that was established during COVID. It can bring it down to as low as 14 days or less, depending on the program and state law. Then work requirements and term limits to housing assistance through public housing agencies. So up to 40 hours per week, work requirements, established term limits for certain households receiving assistance. I'm reading it as 2 years is generally what's being put out there. And so those comments are due May 1st. And so there's still time for all of these, there's still time to provide comment. So we'll be sharing links and more information. Also, the VA is putting out, and I don't have very much information on this. I just know about it. I don't know. Someone else may have better information. Street homeless veterans and guardianship.
I've heard about this too, but I haven't been able to track it down, Sherry. So I'd love if anybody has information.
We've heard just as much as you guys have, just very vague information. They haven't had, any meetings about it or anything yet. So as soon as we know more, we'll let you guys know. But it's preliminary right now.
So that is something to keep an eye on. If you hear anything else about it, please share it, pass it along, and I just want to open up to Arrow. You may have other things that are more news to share, or others may as well.
I think that's it. All of the local governments are also in the midst of this April 24th deadline to have every part of their website ADA compliant, including any PDFs and so forth. So there's a huge push to get all that done. It's taking a lot of staff time for most agencies. I'm sure the other jurisdictions on here are working on that as well. But it also, there may be a period that there's less information available on websites until documents can get updated and put back on there. So we did ask HUD, and Joe, you'll be happy to hear this. HUD is working on it for all of our downloads from HUD's system for reports we have to put out to the public are not ADA accessible in any shape or form when they're downloaded. They're like single-page documents. So they are apparently working on hoping to improve that. So I don't know if the CoC is under that same route or not, but that's really the only other thing I can think of at this time.
All right. Anything else on that? Okay, moving on to the agenda to our coordinated entry policy updates. Not sure who that is, Sherry.
This will be Suzanne. So Suzanne Boylan. I am so sorry. I have Boley in front of me and all the words. Suzanne Boylan is our senior manager of coordinated entry, and there are some policies that we want to get it's been a while since there have been updates. So a mobility plan, emergency transfer plan, I want to share that these have been worked on for quite a while, and we revived this work. And Suzanne has had meetings, consulted with DV providers in our system, so CASA and Hope Villages, and then also other individuals who are involved in case conferencing. I know Helen, Dominique, April Lott had provided some comment a while back that was brought into these. But there has been, even very recently, more reach outs to make sure and ensure that everyone was on the same page with these. So they've received a lot of feedback and review. So she's ready to share that now. Just the highlights. And I also want to just add that we're looking for input, and of course we don't expect all of that to happen during this meeting. You are welcome to provide more input after this, after you've had more time to review these, and we just hope to have all that back by Wednesday if possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Suzanne Boylan. I'm with the Homeless Leadership Alliance. I do just want to make sure and confirm that you all are able to see my screen. Sometimes I have problems with Zoom.
Yes.
Does that look okay? Thank you. All right, so I'll be walking through 2 coordinated entry updates that I'm proposing. As Sherry had mentioned, the DV emergency transfer plan, as well as the housing intervention transfer policy. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to review these materials that was sent out with the agenda packet. So these updates are focused on improving clarity, consistency, and alignment with federal requirements, while also addressing some of the challenges that we've seen in practice, just in general. So I'll keep this very high level and focus on, key changes and what they mean for the system in particular. And like Sherry mentioned, we welcome your input. So if any additional thoughts come up after today, please feel free to email me or Sherry, ideally by Wednesday. That would be great. So why these updates were needed. So both of these policies are updates, one being from 2021 and the other being from 2022. And so since then, coordinated entry has grown in complexity, and we identified gaps in consistency as well as clarity in compliance. Particularly related to HUD and VAWA requirements. So these updates are intended to address those identified gaps and really bring the system in line with current expectations, and hopefully provide that, provide more clear guidance. So for the domestic violence emergency transfer plan, I will start off there. So this plan governs how we respond when a household needs to transfer due to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking under VAWA protections. One important point to highlight is that the previous version was not completely aligned with statutory requirements under VAWA and the CoC program, which does create, in essence, compliance risks for the CoC and any policies and procedures within coordinated entry. So specifically, it did not clearly prohibit delays, or at least even inform if delays would occur and be caused by coordinated entry processes. It did not fully allow verbal requests, or it didn't exactly inform and highlight that specifically. And it didn't clearly define confidentiality protections. So the updated plan, I was really aiming to address that by removing barriers entirely. And so requests can now be verbal or written. No third-party documentation is required. Transfers cannot be delayed by coordinated entry prioritization, scoring, or case conferencing. It also clearly defines both internal and external transfer pathways, and it strengthens confidentiality protections, including HMIS limitations. And I do also want to highlight that this update incorporates input from the local victim service providers, so including CASA and Hope Villages of Americas. Thank you if you are here present. it today, to ensure that it reflects, real world safety practices, and not just regulatory requirements. So really the key takeaway here is that DV transfers are not standard CE transfers. They are absolutely federally protected, survivor-driven process that must be immediate, confidential, and barrier-free. So just wanted to provide a really quick snapshot. I know that there was a very full depth and detailed comparison chart and table in the agenda packet that was sent out. This is just a very small snapshot for digestibility for my presentation. So for the DV emergency transfer plan, the biggest shift is moving to a fully VAWA compliant and barrier-free process. So transfers, not being delayed by coordinated entry processes, documentation being simplified, and safety being prioritized immediately. And that impact, right? Faster responses for survivors, reducing those barriers to safety, stronger legal compliance, and more consistent processes. So the second update is the housing intervention transfer policy, which would in essence replace the 2021 CE mobility transfer policy. And the biggest shift here is that we are moving from a more discretionary process to a structured, eligibility-driven, and compliance-focused system. So under the previous policy or the current policy, decisions were a little bit more flexible. They weren't always consistently tied to program eligibility, which was creating problems, right? And causing some issues with regard to transfers in general, as well as standardized criteria. So the updated policy introduces a two-part approval standard. So what that means is requests need to meet both a valid reason for transfer and eligibility for the receiving program. And it also introduces a standardized decision rubric to guide consistency, kind of like a cheat sheet, right, for end users, staff, to be able to refer to. And I think that is just an additional helpful tool that I'm hoping will be very useful. And it requires providers to demonstrate that reasonable stabilization efforts were attempted before a transfer is completed or even considered, right? So in addition, the policy provides just clearer guidance on RRH and PSH transfer pathways, including defining when those are appropriate and when they're not. Particularly, for more complex situations or scenarios like PSH to RRH. And one thing I did want to clarify, because it was truly a point of confusion under the previous policy, is how this applies to households who are not yet housed, right? So the HIT policy, for short, is intentionally limited to post-placement scenarios. So for households who are still in the coordinated entry process, maybe already, maybe enrolled in rapid rehousing type of program, but may need a higher level of care, those situations are to be handled through like reassessment, right? Case conferencing, rather than submitting a transfer request. So the goal here was really just to separate those like two stages, pre-housing decisions remaining within standard CE, and then this policy begins after the household is already enrolled and actually housed through that housing subsidy or that housing program. And so the previous policy, or the current one, it didn't really distinguish those stages, and it was causing a lot of confusion. So this really was an intentional improvement to reduce any type of overlap and confusion with providers, which is what I was seeing time and time again. And overall, this creates just a more consistent, transparent, and honestly defensible process for how transfer decisions are made just across the system in general. So again, just a really quick snapshot of those of the before and the now, right? And the updated version that I'm proposing. So for the HIT policy, the biggest shift, right? Moving from a discretionary process to a much more structured, eligibility-driven system. Of course, we've also clearly separated pre-housing and post-housing processes, which again was a major source of confusion under the previous or current policy. And the impact to this, more consistent decisions, fewer inappropriate transfers, clearer provider expectations, and better housing stability outcomes. So together, I'm hoping both of these two proposed updated policies are expected to improve consistency, fairness in decision making, truly strengthen compliance with HUD and VAWA requirements, reduce inappropriate or unclear transfer requests, and really provide clear guidance and expectations for providers. And ultimately, this supports better housing stability outcomes and a more coordinated system overall. So these updates are really about making the system clearer and more consistent and more effective for both providers as well as households and individuals. The anticipated next steps, right? So should these updates be approved, the CE team and any type of co-assisters, right? Like as needed. The intention is to move into communication training, implementation planning, and as mentioned earlier, any additional feedback, is welcomed, and just feel free to email me if you think of anything after we're done today, and ideally by Wednesday. But that is all regarding the updates. I really just wanted to provide that high-level review because I know it was there were a lot of updates. So I'm hoping that red line version did help with the comparisons as you were reviewing as well. I'll stop sharing my screen. Does anyone have any questions?
Says, and this is April, I'm assuming that the DV providers are all good and in support and don't have any questions or concerns about it?
Yes, we did send it over and we actually met and incorporated the suggestions, the feedback. We talked through some of that input. So yes, I would say so.
Good.
All right, thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate it. Moving on into the Housing and Intervention Transfer Mobility Plan.
Oh, she took care of both.
Yeah, I tried
sorry.
to condense it all into one so
Oh.
that,
Oh, okay.
for time's sake.
All right, we're on to public comment. Is there any other thoughts on people's minds, things we haven't covered? Karen.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the group, and I think the email went out last week for the 3 sessions for hurricane response coordination. So if you have staff that would like a refresher or new staff to the system, I don't know if HLA can re-forward that out. The first one is on Monday, led by emergency management. The other sessions I think include additional partners. Idea to send staff or attend as leadership to make sure that we're all prepared for what could be coming in a couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that, Karen. That's very helpful. Joe.
As a reminder, our annual action plan 30-day comment period will be coming up very soon. We are working to have that to the Board of County Commissioners in June and/or early July for approval, and then submission by August 1st for our funding that's coming available October 1.
Great, thank you,
So
Joe.
I will just add, for the city of St. Petersburg, social action funding should be opening on May 4th. And so we're looking for those applications from providers.
Great, thank you, Ellen.
I'm going to add that we just received 500 cell phones that are dedicated to veterans. The phones are from AT&T and will be have free service through 2027. So I'm working on a flyer. It goes to any veteran, but of course, we really want to prioritize those that are high in need. If you come across anyone until I get the flyer out, just reach out directly to me.
And Judith, you're going to send something out.
Yeah, I just got them today, so.
Great, thank you.
I
All
have
right, any other-
something. I have
Go
more of
ahead.
a request here. We know that AI, regardless of anyone's thoughts, there's pros and cons to it, and I think it's important. I know that many of us, in our roles, making sure that our policies are up to date on how people use AI within our workplace, that it's safe and secure, and that is being used responsibly. Also using it for good, because this is the world we're in right now, and it can be a good tool. But I don't know that there has been great trainings out there on how. And so if anyone is we're working, HLA is working on its own AI policy for staff. If but if any of you, and we'll be happy to share what we end up coming up with, if that helps. If any of you have one, please feel free to share with us as well. And then finally, if there is a good training out there, or if this is something that other nonprofits are interested in, um, especially since we're so resource strapped, and to have assistance could be very useful. But it has to be the right kind of assistance. I've seen some horrible things come out of AI. I have basically threatened everybody on staff, like, if you have not read through it and you have not verified your sources, it needs to be in your voice, that sort of thing. I know that during the NOFO period, I was seeing a lot of things coming out that were not accurate, and I attribute that to AI use. So I just want to throw that out there. We are welcoming, are very interested in trainings that may be available that are actually going to be useful for staff.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Any other public comment, or anybody have any good news to share to
Kevin,
close
I'll
out the meeting?
mention we don't have a date yet, but it should be June through August that we'll be opening our CDBG-DR housing focused RFA, which could be up to $2.5 million. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And on Monday, we are opening 42 million in affordable housing dollars. For public comment, there will be a 30-day public comment period on the rubric and the materials, and then we'll open it in May for applications. So I wanted to mention that as well.
That's
Is
great.
that
Thank you.
DR funding as well, Amy?
It is, Joe.
Kevin, I want to say that a positive story. We have a client, an individual male who has been street homeless for I don't even know how long, many, many, many years, often sleeping at the Directions for Living Clearwater Center. We were able to get him several years ago, Social Security disability insurance. So he had some income, but his severe and persistent mental illness was really preventing him from engaging in permanent housing support. In any case, in combination with Dana Kelly and other people from Boley, we have recently gotten him off the streets, and he is in shelter, and it looks like he's going to be going into permanent housing, shared permanent housing. But so far, so good. Fingers crossed, everything's looking good, and he's doing remarkably well.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, April, and for ending us with some good news. Anybody else have any good news before we end this meeting? Hearing none, we will end the meeting a little bit early, 14 minutes to spare for everyone that I'm sure will use that time wisely with all of the things we have going on. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and thank you for your input and good work today.
Thank you,
Good
Kevin.
weekend.
Thank you, Kevin.
Meeting is adjourned. Bye-bye.